Previously, it starts in the 1960s. Tom Ripley, a small-time con artist from New York, is hired by Herbert Greenleaf to bring his son Dickie back home from Italy. However, Tom becomes infatuated with Dickie's lavish lifestyle and ends up killing him when he's excluded from a Christmas trip. Tom assumes Dickie's identity, enjoying the luxury and selling off his belongings. Living in Rome, Tom uses Dickie's money and pretends that Dickie is still alive by sending letters. Freddy, who was tracking Dickie, discovers Tom's deception and confronts him about his criminal past. In a fit of anger, Tom murders Freddy and leaves his body in a car. The police find Freddy's body and suspect Dickie's involvement, leading Inspector Ravini to question Tom, mistaking him for Dickie based on a trip from Freddy's lover. Meanwhile, a partially burned boat is connected to Dickie, and Tom is discovered in San Remo. Marge learns about the boat sale and Freddy's death, prompting her to seek answers in Rome. However, Tom insists that Dickie had already left and then departs to Palmero. Later on, Ravini leaves a message for Tom at his hotel in Palmero, serving as a reminder that he is currently under surveillance. Meanwhile, in Rome, the inspector is actively distributing flyers through the streets, seeking potential witnesses who may have valuable information regarding Freddy's murder investigation. The dog walker, who had previously inquired about Tom's well-being when he was carrying Freddy's body, provides a statement. Although his recollection lacks intricate detail, he does recall that the other individual, Tom, had an average physique and spoke Italian with an American accent. Simultaneously, Tom continues to correspond with Dickie's parents, adopting Dickie's persona in his letters. He conveys to them that the police are treating him as a suspect, hindering his ability to leave the country. Tom expresses his desire for solitude, but reassures them that he is ultimately doing fine. In an act of self-validation, Tom writes as Dickie, describing himself as a good person. Ravini makes his way to Atrani to meet with Marge. During his visit, he fails to notice a photograph of the real Dickie amidst Marge's belongings as she discusses the book she is currently writing. Ravini finds himself perplexed by the nature of Marge's relationship with Dickie, as it appears that they lead separate lives. Understandably, Marge becomes defensive when confronted with the observation, and furthermore, Marge reveals that she encountered Tom in Rome and requested information about Dickie's hotel in Palmero. While taking a bath, Tom engages in an imaginary conversation with a projected version of Dickie, contemplating what he should convey to Marge. The plan is to assert that Dickie had been attempting to distance himself from her in a gentle manner. During this moment, Tom experiences a flashback of Dickie when he was alive, followed by a haunting image of Dickie's lifeless body floating on the surface of the sea. Subsequently, Ravini returns to Rome and conducts an investigation by visiting all the hotels in the area where Marge claims Tom is staying, aiming to validate her statement. Unfortunately, this endeavor does not yield any results. However, an additional clue emerges when Dickie's bank contacts Ravini, reporting a potential case of fraud, adding to the growing pile of evidence. While in Palmero, Tom visits another Caravaggio painting from his checklist, but soon realizes that he's being tailed by someone. It turns out to be a tabloid press, but luckily they fail to capture a clear photo of Dickie's face. Tom's spirits are momentarily lifted when he receives an angry letter from Marge, who expresses her fury toward Dickie for choosing Tom over her. Marge even accuses Dickie of being involved in a romantic relationship with Tom. On a more concerning note, Tom also receives letters from Dickie's bank. The bank states that they suspect a forged signature on Dickie's monthly check, and they request him to sign another card at the nearest bank branch. Tabloid reporters persistently wait for Tom outside his current hotel, compelling him to relocate to a much smaller, less prominent, and more secluded location. Simultaneously, Marge finds herself still dealing with the police, who insist that she visit Rome. Marge openly expresses her dislike for Tom, asserting that he manipulates people and refuses to leave her alone. The inspector accuses Marge of providing false information regarding Tom's whereabouts, as none of the hotels have any record of him as a guest. Marge counters this accusation, suggesting that Tom was likely being deceitful since he is adept at lying professionally. Ravini informs Marge that she cannot leave Italy for the foreseeable future, and at the bank, Tom spends considerable time practicing Dickie's signature repeatedly. However, he departs parts before attempting to prove his identity as Dickie Greenleaf, and instead using Dickie's typewriter with its distinct issue with the E key. Tom writes a letter to the bank affirming that he's indeed Dickie and that he did indeed sign the remittance in question. While requesting a postage stamp from a hotel clerk, the police arrive to speak with Tom, delivering a frustrating message from Ravini. The detective from Palmero expresses annoyance at being involved in this case and emphasizes that severe consequences will follow if Tom fails to return to Italy promptly. News reporters now circulate stating that Tom is missing and is presumed dead. Tom finds himself in a crucial situation, realizing that returning to Ravini in Rome would result in his ultimate downfall, and instead he decides to take a different approach, and he cashes in Dickie's traveler's check and devises a plan. He inquires about the ferry schedules to Tunis, making it appear as though he intends to head to North Africa. Boarding the ferry to Naples, he manages to pass by the patrolling policeman without any hindrance. From there, he proceeds to take a train to Rome, where he drops off a bag without encountering any issues with the authorities. Tom observes his landlady's departure and stealthily ascends the stairs to retrieve a few belongings from his apartment, including his passport under the name Tom Ripley, a typewriter, and a record collection which includes Mina's vinyl records. Subsequently, he packs everything into his suitcase and discards his second bag, and his next destination is Venice, and he boards a train from Rome to reach it. Tom discovers an ideal palazzo that perfectly embodies the essence of living in Venice, and this luxurious residence includes the services of a butler and a housekeeper, which are part of the rental agreement. The grandeur of this place is further enhanced by its front door opening directly into the canal, providing a magnificent visual experience. To blend in more effectively, Tom grows facial hair, and during a shopping trip, he purchases a new ashtray, a book about Caravaggio, and a plain robe with white piping to replace the paisley one previously owned by Dickie. While Tom settles into his new life in Venice, the police in Palmero and Rome engage in a blame game, each accusing the other regarding Dickie's disappearance. The hotel clerk informs the police that Dickie inquired about the Tunis timetable, adding that he appeared to be in a state of depression. Ravini conducts a press conference to address the ongoing search for another missing American. It's time for Tom to reappear, presenting himself to the local police as someone who is neither missing nor deceased. A Venice police officer confiscates his passport, promising to return it only after an interview with Inspector Ravini. However, Ravini had previously met Tom, who was impersonating Dickie, so how will he convince him that they are two distinct individuals? Inspired by Caravaggio's signature chiaroscuro, a masterful balance of light and dark, Tom purchases the new light bulbs to create a more subdued ambiance. He also buys a curly dark wig and crafts a fake beard, and we never see a detailed view of Tom's disguise, and instead we see through Ravini's eyes. It's quite impressive given his limited time and resources. Tom also ensures not to wear any of Dickie's clothes, including the distinctive ring. During the interview, Tom mentions his travels to various small towns before arriving in Venice, which caused him to miss the news about the bloodstained boat. Ravini suggests that Dickie might have left the country for North Africa, but Tom dismisses the speculation that Dickie might have gone off to paint. Ravini brings up a waitress in Rome who likely saw Dickie and Freddy, Elliot Sumner, on the night of Freddy's murder. In response, Tom raises the issue of the check forgery involving if Dickie might have been harmed, and Ravini counters the check wasn't forged as it was typed on Dickie's typewriter. Ravini wonders if there's an agreement between Freddy and Dickie, but Tom neither confirms nor denies this. Ravini suspects a romantic relationship between Freddy and Dickie, and Tom's evasive answer aids the inspector's investigation. Following his reappearance as himself, Tom starts receiving invitations to the best parties in Venice, despite his clear contempt of the attendees. An art dealer expresses interest in representing Dickie, as paintings by a killer are more valuable, akin to Caravaggio. At the same party, Tom meets Reeves Minot, a fellow spirit who shares his disdain for the wealthy lifestyle. Tom is caught off guard by the unexpected visit from Marge, who had been enhancing her writing career by selling her story story about the Playboy figure to magazines. Marge visits Tom's palazzo and reveals that she's been in contact with Dickie's father, who doesn't think highly of Tom. The possibility of offing himself is discussed, but Marge argues that someone planning to end their life wouldn't bother cashing in their traveler's check. Tom twists the knife further by asking if Marge had sent any harsh letters to Dickie while he was in Palmero, fully aware that she had. Despite their differences, Tom implores Marge to stay, and surprisingly she agrees. Marge stumbles upon a party invitation from Pension Guggenheim and insists that they attend. However, Tom becomes irritated when Marge, inebriated, insists on taking a gondola home. To his dismay, he realizes that he doesn't have the key to the front door, and thinking quickly, Tom decides to climb over the fence and enter through the back entrance. As he eventually opens the front door, a fleeting opportunity arises for him to push Marge into the canal, but he refrains from taking her life. The following day, Tom receives a telegram from Mr. Greenleaf expressing a desire to meet. Mr. Greenleaf suspects that Marge is becoming tiresome and taking advantage of Dickie, and he asks Tom if he believes Dickie may have offed himself. Tom reluctantly admits that Dickie did seem to be under considerable stress. Back at Tom's residence, Marge searches for a needle and thread to mend her bra and unexpectedly discovers Dickie's ring in Tom's room. Tom quickly explains that Dickie entrusted him with the ring for safekeeping and grasps the ashtray, anticipating that Marge might question his explanation. Fortunately, Marge interprets the discovery of Dickie's ring as a clear indication that he took his own life, and she feels compelled to inform Mr. Greenleaf about her conclusion. Coincidentally, the same private investigator who tracked down Tom in New York has now arrived in Venice and requests a meeting with him. Tom asserts that Dickie couldn't love Marge because he himself was the object of Dickie's affections. However, Tom claims he rejected Dickie, describing him as pathetic. To support this theory of offing himself, Tom fabricates a letter from Dickie to his landlady, elucidating his deep state of depression. In a parting gesture, Mr. Greenleaf allows Tom to keep the ring, and later Tom encounters Mino, a fellow forger, who provides him with a British passport under the name Mr. T. Fanshawe. Tom has been using the new identity to conceal Dickie's Picasso painting, which he is now able to retrieve without any restrictions. Meanwhile, Marge follows through on her plan and completes her book, sending a copy to Inspector Ravini. In the meantime, Tom Ripley has vanished, leaving behind no trace, and it all ends here. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel, and also leave me a comment below with suggestions on what movie or series we should recap next.